freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round 2 recap for this week's PGA Championship, but we will be discussing a lot more than just the golf that was played on the course today. Joining me to break it all down, Patrick McDonald is here. Patrick.
Gentlemen, what is up? Talk about an all-timer today.
We will remember this one. Certainly, indeed. Mark Immelman is here. Mark, good to see you.
Yeah, Rick, it's one of those days where you'll be like, yeah, where were you on the day that? You know, it was crazy. Hey, man, I can't believe I haven't seen you in person this week yet. Our paths haven't crossed.
I know we are. We're like in opposite ends of this place, but we'll fix that very, very soon. It's good to see you. Greg DuCharme is here. Greg, just say the line. Let's just do it.
Well, I'll say an alteration of it. What a day. You know, we spend a lot of time on this podcast looking into the crystal ball, figuring out well in advance exactly what is going to happen every minute of a major championship. And somehow, I mean, it turns out after today that I need a new one because I did not see this coming. It started early and it went on for quite a while. So that was something else. What a day.
For those who have not been following golf today, I'll give you the brief synopsis. This has been covered a lot. If you want to go back and watch the full thing, we did like 8 straight hours on CBS Sports HQ. It's all over their YouTube channels. It's everywhere. So we'll give you the brief of it, and then we'll kind of give you our perspectives. But this morning, there was a fatal accident outside of Valhalla, right here on the road that we enter on, and that obviously caused traffic issues to the point where the PGA Championship actually delayed the start times. Now, during that period, Scottie Scheffler was trying to get inside the golf course, apparently had a miscommunication, a misunderstanding of the instructions that he was being given by Louisville Metro Police Department. He was trying to enter the grounds. They were telling him to, I guess, not enter the grounds. There was an incident that eventually led to the arrest of the number 1 player in the world, Scottie Scheffler. He was arrested, he was booked, and he was charged and then released before his tee time. Patrick, let's just start with you. What did your brain say to you when this was all going down this morning?
So got up early, hit a little pump, saw the announcement from the PGA that it was going to be delayed. I didn't know the circumstances behind it. Update the tee times on the website, go on my morning walk, and then I see the tweet from ESPN's Jeff Darlington. Breaking news, world number 1 Scottie Scheffler has been arrested. A police officer attached himself to the car. And I'm like, all right, is this from Tour Golf? TUOR Golf? Is this some sort of prank? Is the Onion pulling my leg here? What's going on? So I continue on my walk. I'm like, no way this is true. And then I shoot a couple messages back and forth with the KP, and we're like, oh gosh, this is actually real. And so my first thought was, what the hell did Scottie Scheffler just do to get himself into this predicament? But as Greg and I were talking about a little bit beforehand, when you see the lights pop up, when you see the boys in blue come at you, things move fast. I unfortunately can speak from personal experience. Things move fast. You don't really know what to do. You keep your mouth shut. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yada, yada, yada. But you're shaking like crazy out there. And it was reassuring that my experience was somewhat similar to Scottie Scheffler, the world number 1, the best player in golf. And my initial thought was, kind of circling back, is no way this is happening right now.
Yeah. No way this is happening right now is kind of what Jeff Darlington, who was at the epicenter of all of this from ESPN, was saying. He was right behind Scottie Scheffler. He was trying to diffuse the situation, but at the same time, he was recording it. So he was sending out the video that we saw. And Mark, it is obviously jarring to see the number 1 player in the world who has the highest level of respect around this tour amongst his peers and colleagues and everybody else being ushered into the back of a police cruiser in handcuffs.
Yeah, 2 things. First off, I would have bet if you had woken. Well, this is how I woke up this morning because we were supposed to be on early relief for ESPN. So our commute is about 30 minutes to the golf course, and so I'd set my alarm for like 6:30. I was going to leave at about 7:30, get there at about 8ish, and we're on the air at 10 for 2 hours. And so I wake up a little early and I look at my phone, and there's a message from our boss going, "Hey, there's been a fatal accident. The traffic is insane. It took me 2 hours to go, almost 2 hours to get here, to get on the road as quickly as possible." So I start getting ready. I look at my phone, and then I see the tweet on our team thread about Scottie being arrested. And I would bet my mortgage, if you'd send me that, I would have bet everything I own to say if there's one guy on the PGA Tour that was not going to get arrested at a PGA Tour event, it would be Scottie Scheffler. And so the whole thing almost seems surreal. And when we got there, there's the group of us there in the office, and we watching this whole thing sort of unfold in real time. And it truly was sort of jarring. It was, like I say, surreal, and not knowing what was going on, because when we got in there, the traffic was flowing a little bit better. But I was trying to pull across the road because there are honestly 3 lines of traffic cones. And I remember on the first day on Tuesday when we went out there, Dottie Pepper and I drove through there, and I was like, man, these cones are close together, because I nearly hit one on the way down the hill. And so now we're driving down there. It's raining, and I've got Craig, my spotter, with me in the car. And now I'm extra careful now because there's police everywhere. So I pull up, and the road coming down from the opposite side where Scottie was trying to drive down, it was empty. So I just put on my indicator, and I start trying to turn into the premises. And this guy jumps out in the middle of the road, and I get the hands up like this, and I hit the brakes like I was like, holy cow. And I stopped right on the spot. I didn't even back up because everyone was just on such high alert. So it was kind of crazy. I wasn't joking when I'm like, I'll remember this. Look, I've seen some stuff in golf in my 40-something years in golf, but today it wasn't on my bingo card. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so I'll reiterate that. I mean, I've been driving the boys here every morning. We go in the same gate that the players do. The media and the players go in the same gate, and I had the same thought. Mark did earlier in the week. The first time we were there, I was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be going here. The traffic is you're driving on the opposite side of the road that you're supposed to be on because you're just in these lanes of cones. You have no idea what's happening, and there's a lot going on. There's flashing lights. I could imagine, Greg, in the rain this morning, in the dark this morning, that it would be very easy to have something like this happen. And I think obviously because of the accident that occurred, just everybody was on high alert, like Mark said, and it just escalated very, very quickly.
Yes, and of course, thoughts and prayers are with the family of this fatality. I mean, this started with a tragedy, which is important to remember. But as Scottie Scheffler is pulling in there, it's my understanding that there were, security and police that were familiar with the event, that were working for the event, and also because of the accident, there are local police that are not part of the event, so they don't necessarily have the exact same understanding and familiarity with traffic patterns and procedures and policies. So that certainly escalated things, what seems like pretty quickly. And then all of a sudden, it seems like things escalated extremely quickly. And then you see a video that, hey, from Jeff Darlington, hey, he's going to jail and there's nothing you could do about it. And then next thing you know, you're seeing a mugshot. And next thing you know, there's a graphic on my TV screen that says criminal charges for Scottie Scheffler. I mean, talk about a sentence you would never have expected to hear. Criminal charges for Scottie Scheffler. One of them's a felony. It is mayhem, and I can't get over it. I mean, this is so unfathomable. And then, of course, I'm worried about his tee time. Is he going to make his tee time, which is hysterical in its own right? And he does.
Not only does he make his tee time, but he described afterwards, Patrick, that he was in the holding cell, in the jail cell. He could see himself on TV. He could see that tee times had been delayed and he could see what his new tee time was. And he started to do the math on, I might be able to make it over there. So he started doing his stretching routine in the jail cell to prepare for the hope that he was going to tee off.
A little prison workout, some would say.
Prison pump.
Yeah. Do you think anyone was in the holding cell with him? Like someone from the drunk tank, they had a night on the town or a Thursday night, and they're kind of like getting back into it, and they look up and it's world number one Scottie Scheffler just hitting some stretches right in front of you. Yeah. Just
few lunges, few jumping jacks.
It's like, oh, it's way too early for this. I'm going back to bed. But
if that were the case, that guy would probably be thinking, I was drugged last night.
Yeah, he goes, no one's gonna believe this story. But it sounds like from his recount of it, talking to the media after his round, it was a very pleasant experience once he got to jail. He got a breakfast sandwich from the holding officer. The guy offered him a sandwich, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty hungry. I'll have one." And yeah, and then it's like, yeah, the guys were great. He was saying, "Thank you. You guys are," of course, Scottie Scheffler is telling the people who arrested him, like, "Oh, you guys are so good at your job. Like, we all appreciate you." Which is like, he's like, "I'd shake your hand, but I'm handcuffed right now. I can't really, but trust me, you're doing a great job." It's a ridiculous situation. I think the weirdest part, honestly, is that they threw him in a what is it called? A jumpsuit?
A jumpsuit.
Yeah, the orange jumpsuit to take the picture. That's out of the ordinary, I would say. That is not normal for a quick stint in the clink.
In your experience.
If Nike's onto something, they got to get him an all orange suit for Sunday, like stats, don't you think?
Yes.
Ricky Fowler.
You know what else is interesting about that, Patrick? I'm not sure how quick this stint was supposed to be. On Sirius XM this morning, we had Jay Billis on, who has a law degree, obviously, and he was very surprised that he was released as quickly as he was when one of the charges was a felony. And I saw a number of other, legal reports, Sia Najad being one of them, who said it's very unlikely and suspicious that with the charge like that, the release happened so quickly, which led all these, I don't want to say legal analysts, but people with legal backgrounds, it led them to believe that things have probably been dropped. Or we're not taken too seriously in there. But then maybe that's why they put the orange jumpsuit on.
Well, and Rich Lerner tweeted out, and it was kind of known throughout some webs that the Louisville mayor got involved also. Him and the PGA were talking.
I'm sure there were phone calls that were made that ran very far up the flagpole. The bottom line is this: Scottie Scheffler gets to Valhalla about 50 some odd minutes before his tee time, gets to the practice area about 35 minutes before he tees off. He does indeed play, and he plays a lot like Scottie Scheffler. We're going to turn our attention to the golf that was played on Friday, get you all the updates because there is a big boy leaderboard brewing. We're going to do that after a quick word from our partners.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
And we're back. All right, let's get to the golf here. And the early morning wave started with Collin Morikawa going out and shooting a Friday 65 to back up his Thursday 66. And this was highlighted, Greg, by 5 birdies in a row over his last 6. He did give one back on his final hole of the day, the 9th, but Collin Morikawa posts at 11 under par. He is one shot off the lead heading into the weekend.
Yeah, it's the classic post 5 birdie in a row mess up there on 9, which was Every time I make 5 birdies in a row, I make a bogey right after. Just you've seen it a million times. Here's the thing with Collin Morikawa. Yesterday's round looked a little piecemeal. You know, it was a little scrappy. There were moments of brilliance, and some great short game and putting saved him. This round today looked like Collin Morikawa of 2021, 2020. He had the fade working. The contact, you could tell the contact on his irons is way more solid. The ball's fading. Everything he hits is absolutely a fade. And it felt like the work that he's been doing with Rick Sessinghouse now, it kind of clicked, and it looked like old Collin Morikawa today, which is great news for him. Not great news for everybody else in the field.
I'll add to that because he was my assignment for our relief session Thursday afternoon. And I got quite excited when I saw the group because it was him and it was Phil, and I hadn't seen Phil play in a while, and obviously Fitzpatrick. And so I was looking forward to this. And so I watched him warm up some, and we chatted briefly, and he's very comfortable with a putter right now as well. And the stroke is free, and he's seeing lines. And look, all the good ball striking, you can certainly see it happening, but that turns into scores because you're converting and because you're making putts. But anyway, so I joined this group, and between Phil and Fitzy and Collin, they're like a collective 8 over par as we head down the 6th hole. And I joined them, and I didn't say a word for 2 hours. I honestly just walked around watching golf with a headset on my head. And then he hits this 4-iron off a downhill lie to a back left hole location on 6, which is a brutal par 4. And this thing painted the flagstick from when it left the face. And I looked at this, and I looked at my spot at Craig, and I'm like, I have not seen Morikawa hit a shot like that since 2021, basically. And it sort of caught my eye. Then he made the putt, the sliding downhill right to lefter. And I not that I'm Nostradamus or anything, but I looked at Craig, I'm like, this could be the catalyst. And Craig's like, dude, it's you running everyone. Whenever you join a group, they go bad. Anyway, so we get back to the hotel, and he texts me. He goes, by the way, Morikawa's got a putt in the last for 5 under. And Phil's making a mistake. He's back to even. And Fitzy eagled the last or whatever for 1 under. So they turned it around. But it's like that 4-iron that he hits and then making the putt on that hole, the hardest hole. I feel like if he does win, I can say that I was there when the whole thing turned, because up to then, it kind of looked a little messy and there was no momentum and stuff. But all of a sudden, he hit this ball, and it just turned into a guy that turned into that score that you see in front of you on your screen there.
Well, the argument could be made that Collin Morikawa had a better first 2 days than leader Xander Schauffele, because Morikawa came out of the more difficult wave, about a stroke and a half more difficult going PM AM than AM PM. Patrick, I look at the historical opportunities for this week for Collin. This is major championship number 18 for him. Twice a winner, 6 top 5s, I believe it is, 8 top 5s, 8 top 10s, I believe it is. And he would be on a very, very short list of guys to get to 3 in that few starts.
Yes. And I said at the Masters, he's kind of the guy. I'm not going to put him in the Brooks Koepka conversation, but he's a guy who has it. He knows how to play major championship golf, regardless of his form. He always seems to find a way to piece it all together. Like Greg said, on Thursday, it wasn't pretty at times, but then he finds that superpower. The iron play returns to Collin Morikawa levels, and you get around like this where you're streaking for, the 3rd time all year. He should be the one who's arrested, not Scottie Scheffler for that misdemeanor right there. And it's just unbelievable. Like you said, the historical implications, Rick. I think he'd be the youngest since Tom Watson to get to 3 in 18.
I think the fastest to get to.
Fastest? Okay.
Yeah. Not necessarily youngest, I think.
Yes. And like Spieth was around 20. I think Rory's in that range. Nicholas
was 20 or 21.
Nicholas around 16, maybe. And so, yeah, it's crazy stuff. And to do that in that short amount of time, when you've kind of gone through somewhat of a lull, makes it even more impressive, I think, to climb out of that, lull of a year or so and to return to that peak. Like Mark said, seeing that shot that he hadn't seen in a few years, a lot of mental fortitude, a lot of, I think, humility going back to Rick and realizing it wasn't working, going down the rabbit hole with Mark and trying to piece everything together. And it seems to work out so far.
I'm so glad you said that, because I did want to say that, Patrick, where, as a recovering golf instructor to PGA Tour and European Tour professionals, it's like the carousel. It's like you hear this morning and gone this afternoon. If someone else is playing better than you are, and what their coach is saying sounds sexy. And so it's movement back and forth all the time. And you could see Collin and Rick. Rick was on the hot seat a ways back, and you could see Collin was antsy, and I kept on saying so. And the next thing he's with Blackburn. But I do commend him for going back, because in as much as what it seems like the world is coming to an end, if he had just looked at his resume and go, well, I've still got a pretty good major championship success record given my comparison to other legends of the game, then we're not going to panic too much. We're not going to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so he did go back to Rick, and I did ask him about that, and he goes, yeah, I'm sort of finding my groove again. So I think it was good on him to go back to, a place where you were when you were winning prolifically, really.
Collin Morikawa, 6 under on the day, 11 under for the tournament, 1 shot off the lead. Let's get back to Scottie Scheffler here, Greg, because he did one better on Friday than he did on Thursday. He goes 67, 66, and it took a little bit to get into this round. A little bit of turbulence out of the gate, birdie, bogey, birdie, but once he did, he looked a lot like Scottie Scheffler, all settled in.
You would never guess that he was charged with a felony that day. You would never guess he had been booked and spent some time. You would never have guessed he loosened up in his jail cell after watching this round. But I was just so impressed with the calmness that he showed in his practice session and when he got on the golf course. And, if you were watching this thing on mute, this looked like every other round Scottie Scheffler plays. He had control of his ball off the tee. He was dialed in with his wedges. Even the bogey at 11 was not really all that bad of a shot. Missed a 5-footer for par there. And the rest of the way, it was clean sailing. He gave himself so many 18 to 20-foot putts. And this round of 66, like it always does, just looks so easy for him. It doesn't look like he's expending a ton of energy. It doesn't look like this was a great round. It looks like this is just a normal round, which is a really scary thing for the rest of the field.
Yeah, really scary thing indeed, Patrick, because now Scottie sits here and lurks at just 3 off the lead. We haven't had a really, really low one from him yet, like we've seen from Xander or from Collin or from a couple other guys at the top of the board. Does he just kind of settle in now? He's back into the routine. Any lingering effects from today after he sits at home and decompresses a bit?
If you're in this field, you had to look at Scottie Scheffler's round today and think to yourself, what the hell is going to rattle this guy? Neck injury at the Players, major championship hangover at the RBC Heritage, arrest at the PGA Championship. Nothing affect this guy. He lost to 5 guys today in the deepest field of the year after that morning. It's flat out ridiculous. And we talk about the historical implication of Collin Morikawa. Scheffler's only got 1 extra major under his belt, and a couple of those were amateur appearances in the U.S. Open early on. So he's right on that pace as well. And obviously the calendar Grand Slam and everything that goes along with that, if that conversation could potentially continue. So he's got one more hurdle to get over, I guess, round 3 without Ted Scott on his back. We'll see how that affects him. But if he has the same disposition today, I doubt it does.
My favorite thing I saw on Twitter today was very early on. It was just a comment from some random Twitter user who said, "You cannot stop him. You can only contain him." And I was cracking up.
Well, Mark, Rick, I want to say this real fast, because he's a mental masterclass if you watch him. And to build on what Greg said, I watched him in warm-ups, and he had 30 minutes to get ready and he had to build in time to get to the 10th tee. And any golfer who's played any amount of tournaments, you'd be like, oh my goodness, and you're rushing and you're not thinking clearly. This guy still went through every routine. He checked the grip like he normally does. And I looked at him going, okay, well, if he's feeling crazy inside, and he admitted as much afterwards, he didn't show it at all. He honestly looked like a duck on water. And then just the mechanics of the way he plays, because he hits the ball so solidly and he's so accurate off the tee, that his distance control is impeccable. And so with receptive greens like they are, they're just one gigantic dartboard. And the way he hits the ball the right distance every single time means that this guy is not going to go away. I don't think being without Ted Scott tomorrow morning is going to cause any issue whatsoever. It's like I could carry the guy's bag and go, yo, Scotty, drive it in the fairway over there and then hit a 7-iron over there. And he'll be like, fine. In fact, Ted Scott said that to me at the RBC Heritage. He joked with me. He goes, you see that trash can over there? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I could put that 200 yards away and say, Scotty hit it. And he would. So it's crazy the control he has. But I just feel like that comes from this place of quiet inside and this presence of mind and this calm that he has, where he's like, if I play golf or not, or if I'm in jail or not, doesn't matter. I'm going to go out and do what I know how to do and just do it every single time.
Yeah, certainly did. And now another major championship. He's in the mix. The calendar year slam is still alive. This unbelievable year that Scottie's had continues. And he's got 2 more rounds to go to see if he can make up ground on the leader, Xander Schauffele, who we're going to talk about in just a bit. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
At CBS Sports Golazo Network, we're bringing you the game. Madness of Messi arrives! Breaking down the game.
This is unlike anything else in the world.
And changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Whoa.
And all day long!
24/7.
And we're back. The overnight leader was Xander Schauffele. He had a 3-shot lead after 18 holes, and he is still your overnight leader, this time through 36, but that lead is just 1. Greg, we'll start here with you. It was the afternoon wave for Xander, so he had a lot of time to sit and think. He was also, I believe, a couple shots back by the time he actually did tee off, because scoring was so good earlier in the morning. It was 3 birdies on his front 9. He made another birdie on the 10th hole right there at the turn, and then he played his final 7 holes at 1 over. But Xander gets it into the clubhouse with a 68 and will post 12 under heading into the weekend.
Yeah, a very good round, and in a lot of ways it looked very similar to round 1. Now, he did mention after the round that he couldn't be quite as aggressive because of the mud balls. And this is the smart way to handle that situation.
Mud ball.
When he was getting mud balls. He's a little more conservative, and he pounded the middle of greens. He pounded them today. Hit 16 greens in total, which was just phenomenal. And the putts just didn't quite go for him. He missed a couple of short ones that I'm sure he would like to have back. It was not a perfect round, but it was near perfect off the tee. In my opinion, after hearing his comments on his strategy, I think it was near perfect approaching the greens too. Of course, the one on 18 gets away from him, which was disappointing, even though he hit a heck of a shot out of the hay to give himself another birdie putt. But the big difference between round 1 and round 2 was, one, how aggressive he was, but even more so than that, the putter. No momentum with the putter today, but it didn't affect him tee to green.
Yeah, Mark, he was number 2 in the field in strokes gained putting on Thursday. He gained a hair over 4 strokes. He was 116th in the field in round number 2. He lost 1.2 strokes, but round 2 was a day of tee to green excellence for Xander.
Yeah, a few things. Look, he had the luxury to play the way he did today, given the first round that he put together, because a lot of guys, you try and force the issue a little bit here, and then you short side yourself to some of these holes where even if the greens were receptive, you were going to have a tough time. So he just played a very smart, sort of Tiger-esque kind of a round today. About the putting, I want people to realize, if you've ever been to a tournament, how disciplined this guy is. His pre-round putting regimen is unbelievable. In fact, with the CBS social media people, we did a little feature on it. I think it's coming out here pretty soon, where he spends a lot of time checking fundamentals. Then he hits putts uphill and downhill, and then he hits putts from long range and short range. And he was on the putting green before he went to chip and hit bunker shots for a good 25 minutes or so. Then he goes to the short game area, chips and putts there, and then he gets to the range. And I got to say this about the way he's hitting it. He was paired alongside Justin Thomas today, and I kind of giggled to myself because 17 is a tough par 4. And in the practice rounds, the players weren't getting it up over the hill. So, I mean, thing was playing brutal. And Justin Thomas stepped up there and was all arms and legs and just hammered one. And Xander just caressed one next to him. So he's got the luxury of the power right now. And the work he's done on the golf swing has mitigated the ball turning from right to left. So he just has all the tools. And then one more thing. I'll never forget the Tour Championship when he made it the first time. And I think he won the following year at Eastlake. He was playing a practice round by himself with Austin, his caddy. And on that par 3 15th green, I walk on the green. I'm like, hey, Xander, and we're catching up. I'm like, do you like the course? He goes, yeah, I love it. This is Eastlake. And I'm like, why? He goes, the grass. Where's your grass? I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, it feels like home in San Diego. This place is Zoysia. So if anything's lining up for this guy to finally pull one off, he's coming in here with great confidence. He's hitting it awesome. He's playing managerial smart golf. The short game is disciplined, and he's on his favorite surface. I mean, if it ever seems like destiny right now, I know it's only Friday night. This could be the week.
Might be destiny. I'm feeling something a little bit different, Patrick. It's a little bit of deja vu. I mean, I think we did kind of the same thing last week at Quail Hollow. I think we did something similar at LACC where he jumps out to a record-breaking opening round. Neither of those ended in victory.
The players?
Okay, that would be a good example.
Oh, that was Wyndham. That was Wyndham this year. My mistake.
That's okay, Greg. Does this one feel any different, Patrick?
You know, it actually does not, which pains me to say. It was a very good round, very disciplined, everything that everyone just said. But you look at that back nine, played under par today. Those last 8 holes, hit every single green, played them in 1 over. I think it's kind of a bit of a tough pill to swallow. I know he's going to sound confident, say it was great, and it was. He hit every approach shot inside 25 feet. He hit all but 2 inside 15 feet. And 4 of those were inside 12 feet, including that 6-footer. He hit a pearl into that long par 3, an absolute pearl, an unbelievable high towering. It was disgusting.
Gorgeous.
Disgusting. And it was a shame he didn't pay it off. And his inability, I know it's Friday, like we said, and it's tough to nitpick on a Friday afternoon of a major championship. His inability to cash in some of those chances led a lot of guys very close to the lead with 36 to go. And not just any guys. A lot of guys who can get it done over the weekend, who have proven they can get it done over the weekend with 36 to go. So if he doesn't get it done this weekend, I think I'm going to look back to this Friday afternoon as he could have pushed that lead maybe out to 3, and he didn't.
Here's the thing. You guys always talk about team no putt, right? So he put on that sort of performance there. Now you're speaking from the other side of your mouth. Yeah, he missed a few putts this afternoon. It is what it is. I feel like he played like he had to this afternoon. He didn't make a bogey, did he? Did he make
11.
a bogey today? 11. Okay. I mean,
only one of the week.
I thought it was a tremendous performance. He had to wait all day long. The tee times were later. There was a whole lot of stuff going on. He looked like he was quite comfortable. He didn't look pained in his face, and the warm-ups looked comfortable. I feel like stuff was lining up. I really do.
I agree. It was a fantastic performance. I don't want to take anything away from him. I just think he had a chance to, lead by a couple more going into the home stretch.
I do not want to be lumped in with you guys because I did like the fact that you don't make any putts. That's fine. We've got 36 more holes to go. I'm fine with the way that Xander played. So I don't want to be lumped into that. Let's go a little bit of rapid fire here, gentlemen, because there's a lot of names and I want to get through as many as possible. So Greg, you're going to get Justin Thomas here. And this one's important for him. Obviously, the Louisville kid back here, and he gets off to a hot start. He makes birdies on 3 of his first 4 holes. He turns in 32, and then he plays a very clean 1 under 35 on his second 9. He is 6 under par. Remember, the pace being set at 12 under right now, but it was nice to see some juice out of JT.
It was. I was really impressed with the way that he drove the ball today. He gave himself a ton of opportunities as a result of that club. And his iron shots, I mean, I got to go through this round again because he got him at 49th in strokes gained approach. But I thought he was spectacular with his irons. He had a lot of looks in that 15 to 20 foot range. It felt like the whole back 9 he had looks like that. When he did miss greens, we saw some phenomenal short game. I was very impressed with his performance. It felt like the lid was on the hole a little bit for him. But this round had the potential to be a real low one.
Potential was the word of the day for Rory McIlroy, Mark. And he entered with what I thought was a great opportunity. He was 5 under on Thursday. He didn't drive it well. The weapon of mass destruction wasn't in the bag on Thursday. There was an opportunity for him to pick up some strokes, and he did not. A very subpar, kind of lackluster 71, low-lighted by the double that he made on number 12. He dropped 17 spots down the leaderboard. He's in a tie for 22nd, and now he's not only 7 shots back, but there are a lot of big names between him and the top.
Yeah, it was a mistake, David. Let's be honest. It's been kind of a bit of a TMZ week for him anyway. I was surprised, really, because he did look ragged to me on Thursday. I watched him play a little bit, and he didn't play anything like he did at Charlotte, which was virtuoso. But when he cobbled together that round of 5 under par, with that, like, well, this is really a good sign because he's kept himself in on his bad day. And today it was just one of those sorts of rounds, where things didn't go his way and he didn't strike it particularly well, I don't think, by his lofty standards, and then just didn't make anything. So it was a misstep. And if he wants to pull off now what looks like somewhat of a miracle, he's going to have to be really special quickly. I've watched him in warm-ups. It looks like he has the shots with the irons, but there were just one too many left misses with that driver. And that's what he didn't do in Charlotte, where basically everything he hit was a fade, and it was a hard, high cut shot. Today I saw a few balls turning left, and that's distressing for him, I know.
Yeah, Rory McIlroy, 71 is just not good. He got the good end of the wave. He had kind of everything working for him, did not take advantage. Who did take advantage, Patrick? How about Viktor Hovland? Followed up his 68 with a 66, and this was another round where Viktor holes out. He seems to do it once a week, this time from 76 yards on the 4th hole for eagle, and that gets him going. He added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more birdies on the card. The reports this week, obviously back now with Joe Mayo, trying to fix up that short game, trying to also align that with the ball striking that we know can be elite at times. Major Championship golf treats Viktor quite well.
Yeah, it does. And I think a golf course like this, he's a winner on a Nicklaus design, of course, at Memorial last year. It's a golf course with thick rough around the greens. You're going to get a lot of the similar short game shots. So that deficiency, which is a deficiency, he's last on the PGA Tour this year in strokes gained around the green. That can be mitigated a little bit. And then you throw in a little Momo from that final round in Charlotte, the good vibes of Joe Mayo as well, and the leopard print, the pants on Thursday, the shirt on Friday. Hopefully he pairs them together on Saturday. That might be he might go sub 60 if he does that. You add it all together, and a guy who can also, he knows how to play major championship golf. He proved it last year. He's proved it the year before too, and he's putting it on full display. The ball striking was great. Obviously, the hole out on 4 highlights that, but it just seemed like it was very easy for him today.
Patrick, sorry, I got to say this, Rick. Look, I'm a fan of skinny jeans, right? It's the metrosexual in me, I guess. Those leopard print pants he had on Thursday, those babies were tight. Let me tell you, they were snug. I looked at this, I'm like, woo, that's a statement, Viktor. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know Vic was cheeked up like that.
He hasn't missed squat day, that's for certain.
Cheeked up like that. Okay, that's good.
That's good.
I do not believe he is going to combine them. I think his Sunday. I know his Sunday is more of like a lighter bluish green with like white pants or something like that. I think it gets more calm as the week goes on.
Okay.
Getting less calm as the week goes on is Bryson DeChambeau. And Greg, this was a 65, a 6-under round that was the round of the day. In fact, there were 5 65s out there. Morikawa, Matt Wallace, Hideki Matsuyama, Lee Hodges, and Bryson DeChambeau. We were walking over here back from our final post-round HQ hit to come back to do this podcast. One man alone on that driving range, and it was Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, which is not surprising because of who he is, but this round today was really quite good for him. He got some momentum going, he got hot, and he has such an advantage with the driver. He ends up hitting 6 of 14 fairways, and for much of the day, I mean, he only had 5 fairways before that 18th hole, and it's such an advantage. He's hitting 348-yard tee shots out there and turning 490-yard par 4s into driver wedge, even though it's from the rough. And that's a recipe that can really work. He turns the hard holes into easy holes. And as the week goes on and you got to handle these holes time and time again, it's a lot easier when you have a short iron or a wedge in your hand, even if you're coming out of the rough. And then you add to that the big kicker, big difference from the Masters to this week is these green speeds seem to be a lot more comfortable for him. And he putted very well today as well. He was 14th in strokes gained putting, just 24 putts. Big improvement on yesterday's round.
Yeah, big improvement indeed. Brooks Koepka, Mark, did not have his best stuff, but he held it together. This was a 2-pencil day. He went out in 32. He made a double on the par 5 10th, immediately got both of those back with birdies on 11 and 12. Then he wrapped his round by finishing birdie, bogey, bogey, birdie. When the dust settled, it was a 3-under 68. He is 7 under, 5 shots off the lead. It was chaotic. He clearly was not dialed, but he has kept himself in this championship.
He has. It was almost a case of by hook or by crook, I think, for Brooks. And yeah, recently I've been crowing about the fact that, look, he's a major championship guy. We know that. And part of the reason is that he makes those strokes gain sort of putts, those inside of 8 feet things when it means something. And he hit some putts today that were depressing. I mean, they would have been disconcerting for him. And this 68 he shot, I would say conservatively should have been 65. With some of the short stuff he missed. And he had a putt on 17. There was downhill. It didn't take much hitting whatsoever. It was about 6 feet, maybe 7 at best. And this thing, you could clearly see it was pushed. I mean, he missed it a ball on the right side of the hole. Didn't even threaten the cup. And he looks at Ricky Elliott and goes, it wobbled right. And I'm like, Brooks, no, bro. That didn't wobble anywhere. That was just a straight block. So there's a lot of cleaning up required, because if he wants to win, he's got to turn the day like today when you had the birdie production into that low one, because there's a lot of guys that, like you pointed it out, there's a lot of, form ponies out in front of him, and you can't rely on them to make mistakes, because on the soft golf course right now, if the lead is whatever it is, you could get to 20 at least, because I don't see a way of defending this golf course. I really don't.
I'm glad that Mark Patrick mentioned that putt, that Brooks Koepka putt that was clearly a push. I saw the same exact thing. That looked like a putt that I had on Wednesday night for birdie, and I was so nervous over. And his putter face was open like 15 degrees. It was an absolute just brutal mess of a stroke.
Oh, for birdie, bragging about a little green in regulation. I hear you, Rick.
Would have been my 3rd birdie in a row, actually.
Oh, okay,
right,
striking. But just to add some color to the Brooks putting, 0 for 4 from 3 to 6 feet today.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm totally with you, Mark. It could have been a very special day from him.
Okay, Brooks, I'm doing this for you for my one and done aspirations. If you're listening, dude, you putted like you didn't have it today. Because Brooks Koepka in majors makes that stuff. He's like Tiger Woods. So I hope you're listening, Brooks. Go and make this stuff over the weekend because you still got a chance. Because if he does, it looks to me like when I've watched him play, the ball striking is there. And he's playing with confidence. You can see that. And he's in his zone because Brooks at majors, he kind of looks through you. Brooks at other events, he's just Brooks. He's like a cool guy. So everything is there. You just got to find a way to make those putts that mean something because if you miss, they're the ones that keep you in it. If you hit a great shot, then that's how you make birdies. So it's almost paramount. He finds a way to fix that.
I'm sure he's listening. Brooks is a big fan of the podcast. We all know that. Let's get to a couple of notables who will not be around for the weekend. The biggest, and speaking of one and done, is my one and done selection, Greg DuCharme. It was Jon Rahm, 70-72. He made enough birdies. The last time I checked, he was like, I don't know, top 10 in the field in birdies, but just a lot of big numbers, a lot of frustration, and now two pretty ugly majors to start off 2024.
Quite ugly. And again, I get this sense that Jon Rahm has still so much talent, but is extremely uncomfortable and frustrated, and maybe a combination of both. And things are just going in the wrong direction for him. He did not putt particularly well this week, although it was better today. It was really poor yesterday. His iron play is nowhere near what it was a couple years ago when he was contending in majors. Even the driving acumen, he had 5 fairways today. You can do it driving it like that, but it's a significant challenge. So never enough to really get himself going in the right direction.
Never going in the right direction, especially on Friday, Patrick, was Tiger Woods. The start 4-7, 4-7. That is not good. He was very bad around the greens. He did salvage a few of these later in the round, but he went 40-37. That is a 6-over round of 77, 7 over for the championship, a tie for 134th, and his 5th career missed cut at the PGA Championship.
That was tough to watch. I think the finish yesterday stunk. If he was able to get into red figures and card a 70 instead of a 72, I think it would have done a lot just in general. But it was always going to be an uphill battle for the cat this week with the weather, the wet conditions, the golf course. Nothing was really going in his favor outside of the tee time split he got. So definitely disappointing. I expect, honestly, a better performance at Pinehurst #2 next month instead, which he committed to via his Sunday Red account. But I did come across a little stat. That was Tiger Woods' first triple bogey in PGA Champ in over 1,400 holes in the PGA Championship. And then it took a couple more to get the next one.
Wow, so he went 1,400 holes without making a triple bogey, and then he went 1 hole before making his second triple bogey.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick. Good job, Patrick. Yeah.
Thank you.
Finally, Mark, Ludwig Oberg goes 72-70. He had a double of his own on the 12th hole. He had been kind of nursing, and we asked about that knee injury or knee discomfort or knee whatever before the week started. He downplayed it, and now this guy has missed the cut in 50% of his career major championships. I'm not sure he's very good.
Oh goodness, what a shock. I will say this. When I watched him prepare Tuesday, it looked biblical. And then on Wednesday, maybe, or no, it might have been Thursday morning, we were doing this on the range stuff. And I took, for my Instagram account, I just zoomed in on contact with a 3-wood. And I just shot 3 of them. And he was hitting the same type of a shot. At least it looked like he was trying to. The one was sort of a bit of a late cut. The next one drew a bit too much. And the third one was straight. And he pretty well goes from right to left to right. He can draw it. And as I looked at these, because I pieced them together to make a video on Instagram, and I noticed that ordinarily he's so reliable through the base of the arc, and that's why he strikes it so well. The one was sort of struck a little bit higher on the face. The next one certainly looked like the club landed after the tee, and then the final one was smoked. So it looked like there's a little something going on with the golf swing. And then when I watched him play a little bit, there were balls turning from right to left. Now, like I say, when I've called him before, he does that sort of stuff, but it was like he was trying to set up for fades and they weren't working. So clearly, he was saying the knee was okay. Now, I don't know if that's the issue. I never did ask, but maybe there's a little something there, because in as much as it still looks fantastic when he hits it, it just didn't look as precise as what it ordinarily is with him. So maybe it was just a bad ball striking week and he'll bounce back. I'm certain.
I'm certain of it too. We'll see him down the road, but let's zoom out a little bit on this championship. Xander Schauffele at the halfway point, your solo leader, 12 under. Collin Morikawa, 11 under, solo second. Sahith Theegala, 10 under par. He is in solo third. There is a little bit of a jam at 9 under. That's Dietrich, Scheffler, Hubbard, and Bryson DeChambeau, with Hovland, Finau, Brooks, amongst others, lurking just behind. The betting board, the updated odds. Joshua, do we have them? We do indeed. And Xander, the X-Man, plus 250 to get his first career major championship. Scottie Scheffler right behind at plus 320. Collin Morikawa 5-1. Bryson DeChambeau at 9-1. Those are the only 4 golfers in single digits. And then if you like value, you could get Sahith at 12, Brooks Koepka at 18, Viktor Hovland at 20, a Rory McIlroy miracle perhaps 33-1, or Tony Finau at 35-1. Greg, does anything on that board tickle your fancy?
Well, it doesn't, Rick. And the reason is we already know what's going to happen.
Oh, boy.
We love what we're seeing from Xander, but we already know what's going to happen. So let's keep that in mind, and I'll play along with the game. The guy down the board that I would look at to, maybe make a run and come in second would be Brooks Koepka. I think there was a lot in that round today that was positive. He hit some terrible putts, but I still think there's a lot of upside. He did make some nice putts. It was very inconsistent. And he's only, what is he? He's 5 shots back. So getting in on Brooks now at 18, kind of the same number he was before the tournament, right? So I think that's a pretty good place, and he could absolutely make up some ground tomorrow.
Okay, Brooks Koepka, 18-1. Mark, when you look over this board, would you also like to play along with the game that we're playing?
Sure. What I would like to see is Scottie winning after having been handcuffed and going to jail. And I just don't know what that's going to do to the rest of the world's psyche, because they're like, man, what can we do to slow this dude down? But I honestly think the value is Sahith Theegala. He looks dynamite this week. And I asked him, because last week he shot 66, I think it was on Friday, and then just crumbled over the weekend. And he just said he wasn't feeling very well, and he's battling with allergies. And it just looks to me like he's got a different little something going on there. So I think Sahith is at plus 1,200 is a good deal. But like I've been screaming about Xander, so I've got to just stay in the saddle. I feel like Xander is going to pull the trick this weekend.
Okay, pull a trick. If he does, it's 2.5-1. Patrick, when you look over this, and I know the way that you fancy these, I could get you some odds even deeper down the board if you want to go nuts here.
Your parlay, bro. Come on.
How far back is too far back?
Tell me.
Okay, let's say Xander Schauffele shoots 68 over the weekend.
Okay, let me give you
18 under.
18 under. Okay, how about this name? Justin Thomas, who is at 6 under right now. So he would have to get to 12 under. That would be what, 65.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly did like what Justin Thomas had to say after his round about kind of soaking everything in. He talked to Keegan Bradley about his experience at the country club, and he was like, I love Keegan to death, but he's one of the most nervous, jittery guys I know. So I asked for his advice, thinking it would, help me out a little bit. But
that's smart, actually.
If you want to kind of punish yourself and watch a horror movie this weekend, Tony Finau's hitting the living crap out of his irons right now. I don't know how he shot 2 under today. That was probably the highest he could have shot. It was a stripe show. I agree that Koepka is very dangerous, but I'm going to roll with the guy who I picked at the beginning of the week and who is only a few strokes back, who didn't make birdie on 2 par 5s today, and who will be your 2024 PGA Championship winner. And that is Crusher GC captain, Bryson DeChambeau.
He's burning the midnight.
Your boys over at Ripper aren't going to like that decision by you over there. What's going on?
Oh, I know. It's comes with the territory.
Yeah.
He's just got to call it like it is. Now, we started this day covering this event like 16 hours ago, so I think we're gonna stop now. And if you need more content, go on YouTube and find
Email
something.
me.
Find YouTube for your life. We will do it all again tomorrow. That's Saturday. They are finishing and restarting the third round. I believe I saw 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. What was it, Mark?
7:15.
7:15. Thank you very much. They are going to start round 3 at 9 a.m. Does that sound right?
Hold on, I'm checking my text message. Play resumes at 7:15, finish around 8:15. Third round begins around 9. Last tee time should be somewhere around 3 p.m. Finish, hopefully between 7:15 and 7:30. Can't see that.
Sure. Oh, sure.
The best bet is taking the over on 7:15. We'll see how that works out, but we'll have you covered. We're on CBS HQ all day. Of course, we'll have the pod here after the rounds again. So just turn your dials to the CBS networks, and no need to change it for now. Yes, Mark.
I want to say this, Rick. Kudos to you and your boys. You have put in some long hours, and that's fantastic stuff you're doing. We even had you playing in our green room at one stage. So good job. We're proud of you.
Wow. Thank you very much. Yes, we're working hard. Kyle's doing a great job. Muso's doing a great job and doing all the hard work behind the scenes right here. He is in the booth. Next to me is Josh, producer Josh earning that title this week for sure. Mark Immelman at Mark_Immelman. That right there is Greg DuCharme at The Real GFD. That is Patrick McDonald at P McDonald CBS. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.